Right, hi everyone. This is slightly different. Most of the YouTube videos about these cheap Chinese brush cutters, 5-in-1s they're sold as, which basically means they come with a strimmer attachment, a hedge cutter attachment, an extension pole, and a little chainsaw on a pole, which is good for pruning and chopping limbs out of trees and that sort of thing. So they're sold as a 5-in-1, and I believe now this year they're selling them as a 6-in-1, which means they add an extra extension pole and a few bits of extra equipment. Now there are plenty of videos showing you how to set these up, get them going and all that sort of thing. This is a bit different. This machine is 2 years old now, and I will give you some idea of how it's been behaving, some of the things that have gone wrong with it, and it'll give you a better idea of whether you think it's good value for you or not. Now, I don't want to put anybody off buying one of these because they are absolutely incredible value for money. This one has a 52cc motor, which is powerful by any standards. It does make it a little bit on the weighty side, and if you're operating a hedge cutter on the end of an extension pole, you need to be a fit guy. I can only operate it like that for about half an hour, and if I was a woman, I don't think I'd tackle it. And to operate any of those attachments with 2 extension poles, I think you'd need to be a 22-stone man to be able to cope with the terrific weight. Because it doesn't matter if you use the strap to hang from around your shoulders or anything like that, you end up having to literally hold it in both hands, and it is very heavy going. So that is one item. Okay, so this now, as I say, is about 2 years old. And I can give you a pretty good idea of whether it's going to hang together or not. They are incredibly good value for money. If you think about it, I bought, say, a little chainsaw like this one. This is a McCulloch chainsaw, designed in America. I bought that 33 years ago. Yeah, 33 years ago, and it cost I think about £100 then. So in today's money that would be about £300 just for one little petrol chainsaw. And with this you're getting all these extra attachments and a much more powerful motor, but of course the design of it isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and it probably will go wrong. Right, the first thing that happened when I bought the machine was there were 2 things wrong with it. First of all, this top cover was all smashed in. It had obviously been dropped in the box upside down, so that was smashed in. And so I complained on the eBay site, and the Chinese people replied almost instantly, gave me I think a £6 or £7 refund, which was quite generous, I thought. And okay, it took me between half and 1 hour to fix this, glue it all up with cyano and all the rest of it, but I was quite happy with my £6 or £7 refund. Then, when I actually came to run it, it had a terrific kickback. I mean really monstrous kickback, and I ended up with a couple of holes in my legs where the machine had kicked back so hard that it had just swiveled round and whacked me in the legs a couple of times. So that may be only my machine, or it may be that other people have the same sort of problem, and I will explain how I managed to sort it out a little bit later in the video. So those were the two immediate problems on arrival. Since then, as I say, it's now 2 years old. The tank ruptured, the petrol fuel tank ruptured at about the 1.5 year level. So that had to be fixed. As you can see, I've made that clearer when the choke is for run and when the choke's on, because it's very easy to forget, especially if you've got a number of these sort of engines. They're all a bit different, and it just makes it easier to remember. So apart from that, it's done pretty well. Now, what I did was, for instance, the attachments, I think, are really not badly made at all, and I think as long as they're treated reasonably well and looked after and kept oiled and greased, they will, I think, survive quite well. And the main engine, the actual mechanical parts of the engine, I think are actually quite well designed. And so I think, as I say, treated right, I think they'll probably last. But the little bits of ancillaries, like the fuel tank and stuff like that, the bits they've sort of bolted on the outside of the engine are a little bit of a problem, and I don't think will survive. I mean, I think, you'll probably end up with the odd covers cracked and missing and chunks out of them and all that sort of thing after a few years. I do treat my machinery quite well, so and I'm an engineer, so it's this is probably better than it would look after a couple of years of normal household use. My guess is that I've only used it, it's definitely household, not business use, and I've just used this around the garden for, I would guess, not more than 6 or 7 hours. Okay, so all the problems it's got are either due to age or just, as I say, rather poor design of the ancillary bits and pieces. As I say, I think the actual bare bones of the engine is quite a good design, and I think it'll probably last quite a long time as long as you feed it on the correct oil mix, which in this case is 25:1. That points to the fact actually that the tolerances are fairly wide in the engine, and because if you get say this little McCulloch chainsaw, probably a bit more carefully designed and built, and would uses a 40:1 mix, so it uses less oil, and that points to closer tolerances really. So, okay, right, let's go back to it. Right, I'm going to talk about this kickback problem just in case anybody else has it. The way this engine operates, the cylinders in here, the flywheel containing the ignition system is in there. There is, for those of you who know the technicalities, there is no points adjustment position. There are no points. It literally fires when the flywheel reaches the right position, and any electronics that are in it are just built into the coil, which is inside this red cover here. There is absolutely no adjustment for the timing, which would be the normal answer to kickback. Kickback just means that the cylinder is firing too early in the cycle, or the ignition is firing too early in the cycle, and therefore it's kicking back because it's forcing the piston down from top dead centre, and it's forcing it down backwards. So of course that's why you get a terrific kickback. I mean, this is a 52cc engine, so it's got a lot of power, and a kickback from it is like you know, it'll have a good go at ripping your arm off. So the only way I could get rid of this, first of all, I complained to the Chinese suppliers, basically saying, you know, it's got a murderous kickback, and could they suggest anything, any way around it, anything that could be done. And rather than reply to that, all they did was, in eBay, they cancelled the order, so that you've got no opportunity to complain. So I thought, okay, well that just shows you where you're going to end up with if anything goes wrong with one of these machines, majorly wrong. I mean, they were quite happy to cough up for the little for the damage to the top cover, but if it comes to anything bigger, I think you're basically on your own, and that's how you're going to get treated.